Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're engaging with some uh, pretty profound material. I'd even call it aggressively challenging.
That's a good way to put it. It's a commentary on the writings of Koichi Tsuru, an author who passed away back in 2000.
Right. And what's fascinating is that we're looking at his words through this much more recent 2021 analysis. And that analysis basically says, look, Tsuru understood the truth, but the language he had used at the time, it was often a kind of trap.
And that context is just so vital. The commentator explains that when Tsuru was writing, a couple of decades ago, the collective grasp on these ideas was still, it was still evolving.
So the language was of its time.
Exactly. The idea is that the universe is always revealing truth more clearly. So Tsuru's language, which was cutting edge then, can sometimes, obscure the ultimate simpler meaning for us now.
Which means our mission for this deep dive is to isolate that core truth. We need to find the fundamental insight and really get to grips with this central idea that now this moment is the best.
And that's where the commentator gives us a pretty severe warning. They say Tsuru's texts often have these parts that are pleasing to the ear.
The parts the ego loves.
Yes, the parts the ego wants to latch onto. And those are the comfortable detours. They usually signal a deviation from the main point, which you almost always find right at the beginning of the text. So we have to be a bit ruthless here.
Filter out the comfort to find the insight. Okay, that's a perfect framework. Let's unpack this, starting with that core assertion itself.
Let's do it.
So Tsuru's main quote is just so direct. Now, this moment is the best for you. And, of course, the immediate reaction is just denial.
Oh, complete denial. People hear that and they say, no way, are you kidding me? My life is a mess right now. Nothing good is happening.
How could this possibly be the best?
Right. And that's just the ego measuring things by, external circumstances. So Tsuru tries to soften the blow a bit by introducing this first paradox. He says that your current situation, no matter how negative it feels, is the best place for the evolution of your consciousness.
And he calls it the highest learning stage, prepared by your higher self.
Right, and let's quickly define that. The higher self here is that non-physical, eternal part of you that knows the whole story. So the idea is that this part of you has curated this exact moment for you.
Okay, but this is where the modern commentary finds the first trick question, right?
This is it. Because if you are already perfect just by existing, which is the fundamental truth in this philosophy, then logically there's no need to evolve or be at a learning stage.
Ah, I see. By saying you're here to learn, it implies that right now I'm lacking something. I'm incomplete.
Exactly. That's the deviation. The need to improve is the ego's comfort food. The commentator argues the real truth, the unfiltered truth, is just, now is the best, full stop.
And all that other stuff about learning and evolution.
That's just an attempt to make a very difficult truth a little more palatable. But it actually weakens the power of the original statement.
So if I can actually accept the truth of my current perfection, then the whole struggle for future progress just kind of vanishes.
Yeah. It completely changes your motivation. The source says if you genuinely believe now is the best, the next step it appears naturally.
So it's not something you should do or feel obligated to do?
Not at all. You're just naturally driven to do it from a place of satisfaction, not from a place of need. It's like a musician who's so happy with the piece they just played that they immediately want to play another just for the joy of it, not because they have to practice.
That's a huge shift. From striving because you lack something to acting because you're already full, which brings us to creating reality and the mechanics of it all.
And this is where we hit an even bigger trapdoor in the philosophy.
Okay.
The source is very clear. You can create any reality you want, but there's one condition.
And that is?
The absence of the feeling of lack in your consciousness. It says when your heart is fulfilled, nothing is impossible.
That sounds simple, but it feels incredibly difficult. I mean, if I want a better job, the act of wanting it comes from a feeling that I lack one now.
And that is the absolute definition of the trap. The commentator points out that the moment you try to achieve a state without lack, you've just created the lack.
Wow. Okay.
Trying implies you're separate from the thing you want. True creation requires that the lack just isn't there in the first place. You have to realize the feeling of lack is just an illusion.
So the goal isn't to get rid of the feeling, but to realize it was never valid to begin with.
Precisely. It reinforces the whole idea that humans are on a journey to realize they are already complete. Deep down, we lack nothing. If you think you need something external, money, a sponsor, whatever, you're just looking outside for something that's already fully stocked inside you.
The text has such a powerful way of putting it. It calls us complete energy magicians. It says we can freely manipulate energy with our consciousness.
It's a factory setting, not a skill to be learned.
Right.
And this is the perfect example of the ego trap. You hear you're an energy magician, and what's the first thought for most people?
Okay, how do I become one? Or how do I get that power?
Yes. The commentator warns that any feeling of wanting to become or obtain or change, that's the beginning of the deviation. It's a sign you're off track. The truth is, you are already the magician.
So if I spend my time reading books on how to do this, I'm actually blocking the ability because I'm trying to acquire something I already have.
It's like taking a class on how to breathe. The power isn't acquired, it's just realized. It's activated when you accept your own completeness right now.
And the source talks about this realization, this awakening, as something that's already happening. It's not something you need to go out and start.
It's already underway. Which brings us to maybe the most difficult part of this whole philosophy.
Yeah.
The perfection of everything. Even our self-sabotage. The core idea is that you're already complete, so you don't need to try to be. Tsuru says when you regret the past or worry about the future, you generate energy loss.
Right, stop there for a second, because if you're telling me I'm a perfect energy magician, but I'm wasting my energy on anxiety, then surely my first job is to stop that energy loss.
And that is the brilliant, subtle trap, the commentator says. Do not try to eliminate the energy loss.
Why not?
Because if you try to stop being anxious, you're falling right back into the belief that you're broken and need to be fixed. You're acting from a sense of lack. The truth is, even generating that energy loss, even your anxiety, is part of your inherent current perfection.
So trying to stop worrying is just worrying about worrying.
It's the ultimate cumbersome thought, this self-criticism that says, I'm using my energy wrong, therefore I'm bad. The key is to just accept it, to look at your anxiety and say, okay, this is perfect too.
That is a profound shift. And if I accept that, my actions have to change. I'd start doing things just for the present joy, not to avoid some future risk or fix a problem.
That's the definition of flow. There's no resistance. If you're doing something because you're afraid of going broke, that's resistance. That's lack. If you're doing it because you love the process, that's fullness.
It's a choice of where you put your attention, on what's already there, not on what feels like it's missing. This idea, if you take it all the way, it has to completely dismantle any external ideas of authority or hierarchy, doesn't it? If everyone is perfect, then nobody can be more special than anyone else.
Which brings us to this one section in the original text about new humans or supernatural people gathering to build a new world.
And the 2021 commentary says, what about this?
It says, throw it out. Ignore that entire section.
Really? That's a strong take. Why?
Because it creates the illusion of exclusion. The reasoning is so simple, it's almost brutal. The more these special groups stand out, the more everyone else thinks, oh, I can't stay as I am. I need to join them. I'm not good enough on my own.
And that feeling of inadequacy is the exact opposite of the core truth.
The exact opposite. The core principle, now is the best for you, is true for every single person on the planet. No exceptions. No one is more superb than you. Looking for a leader is just another ego trap.
Which connects to this idea of personal sovereignty. If no one is more special, then I'm the only one in charge of my world.
Yes. The commentator is very clear. Every individual is the sole leader of their own world. Your world is your sphere of influence. We need to stop thinking of Earth as one place with one set of leaders.
And instead see it as, 7 billion overlapping my worlds.
Exactly. Imagine the implications of that. Every thought you have, every choice you make is the supreme law in your reality. The idea that someone else is the leader of your experience is just incorrect.
And people who really get this, who act with real conviction.
They know they lack nothing. They know their consciousness creates their world, and they're driven by that present conviction, by the joy of it, not by chasing fame or power or wealth. They aren't trying to become leaders. They're just acting as the leaders they already are.
So if we put this all together, the ultimate message that Tsuru was trying to get across, but maybe had to soften for his time, is what?
That you, the listener, are already complete. You are infinite. You are perfect. And that's true whether you accept it or not. It's a state of being. It's not an achievement.
It's not something you earn.
No. It's the ego that insists on seeing lack. It's the ego's desire to become complete that actually blocks the joy. Complete things are just complete. The sun doesn't try to shine. It just shines.
So the practical application for you listening right now isn't some huge, difficult task.
It's just a choice.
You lose absolutely nothing by choosing to believe the statement, I am completely perfect now. Starting from that belief, accepting it 100%. That's the only action needed.
You don't have to earn it. You don't have to change to make it true.
So really, the difference between a nice, comfortable idea like you're learning and growing, keep trying, and a truly profound realization is your willingness to separate that need for self-improvement from the simple, non-negotiable truth of your being.
And as you think about that, this idea of your own inherent perfection, here's a final thought to take with you. If everything you regret about the past and everything you worry about in the future is energy loss, and yet you are absolutely perfect even while you're generating that loss, what specific action might you take today, knowing that its outcome matters so much less than the pure joy of the effort itself?
Let that settle in. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We hope this inspires you to continue your own exploration, starting with the conviction that you are, right now, already complete.